It's good to have everyone here. Bud, good to see you. As happy All-Star festivities continue, and it's been. We're going to start to get a little bit more into the teeth of everything tonight with, the celebrity softball game, the futures game. But it's really been a festive atmosphere for the last 3 days.
Yeah, I just walked past the zip line for the second day in a row, and still have no temptation to get up there and try that. So
not going to do it at all.
I talked to Michael Esme, who did it, and once he said it felt like he was 12 stories up, I decided that anything above the third rung of the ladder was off limits to me. So I maybe shouldn't try that. Everything else here, though, looks like it's a blast.
There's something about, for me, zip lining on ground that, zip lining above, concrete. That's just, I just.
You kind of feel like the Great Wallenda, don't you?
Yeah,
crossing a parking lot on a windy day.
But even if you're not into zip lining, there is a ton of things for you to do here at Play Ball Park, and we'll be telling you more over the next 90 minutes or so about some of the great activities that are available here at Play Ball Park for you. There are clinics, there are exhibits, there are Hall of Famers, there are ex-Indians, autographs, there are all sorts of things for you to take part in, and really it's a great interactive place for you to take the kids.
Absolutely.
And just do a wide variety of things.
How are you?
So we have our first guest joining us.
Yeah, there's some not only Hall of Famers here, but guys who should be
in the Hall of Famer. From the Minnesota Twins, Tony Oliva joining us. It's good, Tony. It's good to see you. Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. I see so many wonderful, beautiful people here. It's beautiful.
Do you make the All-Star Game an annual trip? Or is this the first one you've been to in a while?
No, I was. I've been lucky. I was in San Diego for the All-Star. I was in Miami for the All-Star. I want to go to last year in Washington. I want to go. I want to see Washington. I've been in Washington before, but I've not been there for a long time. But wasn't my 80th birthday.
Wow.
and my wife just said, no, you're not going. You better stay here.
You can't be 80. You're telling stories.
You can't be. You can't be.
I tell you something. I almost 81. I got a big birthday coming July 20.
Oh, all right.
You look like you're 80 going on like 42. Come on,
this is the way I think.
Tell the truth. You could still beat the shift, couldn't you, right now with a bat in your hand?
I was saying, if I have a shift in my era, I think I hit 500.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I thought of that immediately when I found out that we were going to be able to talk to you today. When you watch right now, there's a big controversy about whether they should even be allowed to use the shift. And I say, why not? That's how you want to set your defense. It's up to the hitter to beat it.
Yeah.
And a lot of these guys can't do that.
But sometimes it's unbelievable what I see, because I see sometimes they got a big shift right there. And the game very close, like tie game, one game. And sometimes you see left-handed hitter, and you see that third player over there by the shortstop, by the second base, or almost close to second base. The only thing you have to do is hit the ball to left field, or try to hit the ball to left field. He may have a double.
Which you could do pretty easily.
Which I was going to say, you could do. Like I always think about a guy like Ted Williams, who sometimes was so he didn't want to go to left field. He was like, I'm gonna get it through and find a hole no matter what it takes.
Yes, but Ted Williams was the one that's special hitting. He can lift the ball.
Yeah.
But if you can try to beat the shift, and you hit the ball hard every time you have, but you hit it in the ground, or you got a good chance that you have a chance to make a play on you.
Yeah.
But if you lift the ball, hit a line drive, you have a chance to get. If when you're 400 hitter, you're a lucky hitter.
Yeah.
No matter how you hit the ball, you find the hole.
Well, you spent your entire career with one team, which was more common back before free agency, right?
Yes.
But you still did it after Cliff Floyd brought free agency. You still were a member of the Minnesota Twins to the end of your career. Are you proud of the fact that you were with that one team, and are you still involved with them in any way?
Yes, I never left. I've been with Minnesota Twins since 1960. And like right now, one day in town, I dress, go to the ballpark every day, I dress, I try to help
is that right?
Not too much, it's only a little bit tune-up, because we have a two-hitting coach. Yeah, I was the hitting coach in Minnesota from in the 80s, and was pretty good era because we went to championship.
Yeah.
I think it was good. But I still help with the ball club. I work with the hitting, I do a protocol relation, I do the Spanish radios. We do 50 gang in the Spanish radios. I think I still with Minnesota. I feel very, very happy that they still keeping me. It's 80 years, I've been there since the 1960s.
Yeah, that's wild.
And you're here in Cleveland for the All-Star festivities as the Minnesota Twins are in first place in the American League Central with the Indians chasing them. I got to imagine it's got to be an exciting time in the Twin Cities right now because I think everybody thought Minnesota was going to be a better team this year, but I don't know if anybody thought that they were going to get out of the gate as fast as they did.
We get out of the gate very fast. Not too bad. I don't think nobody expected that. Everything being worked right for us, the right time, everything. Cleveland have a little problem, all the lot of got been hurt, and that now that they play very good game, Cleveland have been playing good ball now. But we still play good ball. They've been, catch up on us a little bit. But we still play a stereo baseball. We got some guys being, hurt too. Now that they're coming together, we still, And the surprise for us, a big surprise is, like the pitcher, the bullpen been doing a pretty good job too, because of the way they've been using. I think our manager been doing a great job too, the way they've been using the bullpen. The guy only come for one guy, one hitter, one inning. I've been doing a good job.
Well, here the big question is whether the Indians will buy or sell at the trade deadline. Will they go get another hitter or whatever? Do you think Minnesota is in a position to go out and get another player at the trade deadline? And what do they need? Do they still need starting pitching?
I think I believe if Minnesota try to concentrate to get something, go be in the pitchers. It's hard to say that because our pitchers been doing a pretty good job. But I think probably I like to have another pitcher.
Yeah.
Probably I like to have a through a stopper. We got the guy been doing a great job. Roger been doing a good job, but if he got another help, go be better yet. Yeah. I think I think from now on, the league will be stronger and they will be better, and everybody will be a real thing. The other thing is, I think we can handle because we got a good thing. We got a good balance in our ball club. We got a good hitter. We got a lot of guys in the bench. If something happens to one the player, we can put another player there. He can do the job.
Yeah.
Twins legend Tony Oliva joining us here at our WKYC booth. Tony, Bud mentioned, you spent your whole career with the Minnesota Twins, and the game obviously with free agency has changed, and it favors teams like the Yankees or teams like the Dodgers that have the bigger revenues, the money. I got to imagine, though, it's still the fact that the Twins are having a good season and that they've won championships in the last 20, 25 years. The Indians, it's still nice to see that the smaller market teams can compete. Maybe not on the level of free agency and spending, but they still compete.
Well, you see, we gonna take our team may take a little bit times. Our scout been doing a very good job signing those young players. That development to become a good player. We got a Barrios, the pitchers. That kid how it go on. That kid is gonna be great. Eric Rosario. He's a great player. Palanco. All those also young kids. Plus we bring some kids from the minor league now and been hit over 400.
Yeah.
You see, and they went I think the general manager at the front office did a beautiful job this year to go get a few free agents. They get a Nelson Cruz, as a veteran. It's a good sample.
Yeah.
The way he working, and the player can see that, the way he prepares himself for the game. A scoop, the second base, do a good job. They went and get Gonzalez, who play every position, and they have a power. And you see Crown. Those guys, last year he 30 home runs, Cruz hit 300, and Cruz, he 37 home runs last year. And this year he get hurt a couple of times, but he maybe hit 25 or 30 home runs or more this year. Okay. I think they went and did it, go homework and pick up all those players. Plus, they know what kind of player they get. They're very easy, nice ball player, great players.
I think they're going to be a tough team to catch.
Yeah.
I really do. Even though the Indians are playing better, I think they're a really good team.
Yeah, and the way they've been playing and handle the thing and the line up everything. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Everybody been produced. And Mike Klepper, he been having a great year too. All these kids that become mature.
Yeah.
Kepler, they now have 21 home runs. He put 270. Close City. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
It's going to be fun to watch. Thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Tony, it's good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. And by the way, early happy birthday.
Yeah, there you go.
Tony Oliva joining us here.
People of a certain age may not remember all of his career. Led the league in hitting 5 times. Had in hits 5 times. Was the consummate bat control guy who could put it anywhere to any field at any point in a game.
Set the table for Harmon Killebrew.
Even though he was, in a different league. When I grew up in Philadelphia watching the National League, he was always, for whatever reason, one of my favorite players to watch. I just thought he was a phenomenal talent.
Why isn't he in the Hall of Fame?
Well, I think it's a matter of he's got 1,900 hits. Late in his career, he had knee issues, limited him to being the DH at the time. If you look at some of his hit totals in the final 5 years, they really took a big plunge. But for that period, Dino, from before they lowered the mound, which a lot of people don't remember, they did. The pitching was so dominant with Bob Gibson and guys like that in the 60s that they eventually just lowered the mound so that these guys couldn't dominate lineups the way they were dominating. But this guy was a 200 hit a year guy before all that happened. So he was a phenomenal player.
I mean, those Twins teams were always competitive. They won. Did they win? Did they beat the Dodgers, or did the Dodgers beat them? I think for the title.
I'd have to.
He had a ring, so he had a ring on his finger. But I'd have to remember. But I know they played in a World Series in the 60s.
Harmon Killebrew and Zolio Versailles, and they were tremendous team at the time. So you're right, though. It's good. I know a lot of people in mid markets don't feel like baseball is still figured out the competitive balance thing. But when you look at it, there's still, the Tampa Bay Rays have been a very good organization and a good team. You just get put in a position where you have to do almost everything right.
Right. Well, and he said you've got the scouting has to be top notch. Yeah. The player development has to be top notch.
And we saw that with the Indians sometimes, where when they did take a nosedive and bottom out a little bit. It was because their minor league scouting wasn't that good, and now we can see with some of the players they have coming that they've gotten that back.
I mean, to me, if you say what have been the themes of the Cleveland Indians so far in 2019, it's been, despite the injuries and the adversity, the infusion of young talent that has come up, whether it's the Mercados or whoever you want to talk about, Zach Plesac, they have really put a jolt into that clubhouse, and they've been able to fill holes and keep moving along and put themselves in the playoff contention.
Yeah, and guys like Mercado and Bobby Brown are not, believe me, Mercado's been a terrific addition, but they are not, they weren't projected to be like these top organization talents.
No.
And that's why I think the temptation for the Indians might still be there if people offer them something like that for Trevor Bauer. they might, depending on where they are at the trade deadline, they might still be tempted to make that deal. If it's an organization's top position prospect who can come in here within a year and make a big difference in this lineup, it's going to be interesting to see how they weigh, chasing the Twins, chasing a wild card versus next year.
And the other guy, I mean, if somebody is so desperate for a closer, I'm all. I mean, the Indians have Brad Hand to a very team-friendly contract, and they've got him locked up for another year. But if there's a team that blows you away because they really think they're a closer, like the Indians were in 2016, they're one reliever away from winning it all.
Yeah.
You got to take that phone call, and you've got to really think about, can we win it right now versus if we get top prospect player ABC that can come in and be a part of a run that could last 5 years. Is that better for us long term?
Yeah, it's a tough one, and anybody that acts as if it's so simple, sell or don't sell or buy or whatever, it's just kidding themselves. I mean, it's a complicated issue because, you still need to compete next year, right? Mm-hmm. And you still have Frankie Lindor. And
yes.
You're not doing yourself or your fan base any favors if you don't chase pennants while Lindor is here, and even if they would trade Bauer, it wouldn't be a big sell-off. They're not going to bottom out for the next 2 years.
I think they could trade Bauer and still make the playoffs.
I think they could possibly do that too, especially as we know Clevenger is starting to come back.
Yes. That was so important the other night in Kansas City to see him pitch well.
We expect that Kluber might be back, and whether he'll be have enough time to get himself to where he was a few years ago, we don't know. The news that Carlos Carrasco hasn't written off the rest of this season is a positive, although I don't know how much we can count on that. So,
all right, well. We are going to continue our coverage here at Play Ball Park, and really this is one of the things that I know you've really looked at and talked about, the Taylor Foundation.
Yeah, Taylor Hooton.
We're going to learn. Don Hooton is joining us, and
Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
Dave DeNatale and Bud Shaw. It's good to have you. I'm looking at your shirt right now. TaylorHooton.org. It's the Taylor Foundation that's partnered with Major League Baseball. Please kind of give us an idea of what people should know first, and we'll start from there.
Sure. So my younger brother was a high school athlete, loved playing sports like so many of our kids do. And along the way, he was told he needed to get bigger, faster, and stronger if he wanted to make it to the next level. And, of course, he wanted to make it to the next level and, began using anabolic steroids in order to achieve those goals. And shortly after his 17th birthday, Taylor wound up in a depression that was serious enough that he ultimately took his life. And we formed the organization in his name, and in 2005 partnered with Major League Baseball. And thanks to their support, our education programs have impacted nearly 2 million lives across the United States, Canada, Latin America.
That's wonderful.
What did you find out about not only steroid use among athletes of that age, but also sort of I don't want to call it a post-depression period that sets in when they get off it?
So what we know is about 7% of high school kids admit to using anabolic steroids. And that's athletes and non-athletes, that's males and that's females. But what we find out is one of the side effects of anabolic steroids is it's nothing more than synthetic testosterone. It's a hormone. So when we start altering the levels of that in our body, and you've got a young man that comes off and his body's now no longer producing natural testosterone, that's where the depression can sit in, can start, and that's where things become very dangerous, especially for our young people.
And what should parents, I don't want to say look out for, but what should they be aware of with young athletes if there are signs that maybe, because I'm sure your family didn't know that he was using these, right?
No idea.
Yeah.
Taylor was probably the last kid people would have thought to be using drugs. But what parents can look for, I think the first thing I would tell parents is talk to your kids. Mm-hmm. One about, these kids are driven today to look good and to feel good about themselves, number one. And that these are prevalent drugs that are going on in our high schools, our middle schools, are going on in our college, and at some point, our young people are going to be tempted to use these. And I just think it's starting the discussion. If, we have a wealth of information on our website that they can come to that have conversation starters. But to also, be very careful when we suggest to a young person that they do need to get bigger, they need to get faster, they need to get stronger. We need to be prepared to give them a nutrition plan, a workout plan, and be able to follow up with them to make sure that they're not turning to something for a shortcut.
Well, and obviously Major League Baseball is really helping and cooperating. Are you finding high schools and around the country, the NCAA, are working well with you too to make this? Because really, it's obviously in Taylor's case, it starts young. It starts even before high school.
Absolutely. We wouldn't be sitting here talking today if it weren't for Major League Baseball. Because of Major League Baseball, high schools are now opening their doors to our program. We have 2 programs, one where we talk about appearance and performance-enhancing substances, but we now have a full-time sports dietitian on staff that we're going into schools and offering education on nutrition and dietary supplement safety. And the same thing goes at the college level. People hear our program, they're like, wow, our kids are really captivated. How do you keep their attention so long? I said, well, this is something they're already talking about, so you got to make it entertaining, especially for the kids today, but also come across educational as well.
Well, and I'm glad you're still doing this, because I think in baseball terms, people think, well, the performance-enhancing era is over. That ended after everything with Congress and the Mitchell Report. Not the case.
It's going on all sports, and our main focus is what's going on with the young people. So one of the really cool things we believe outside of education is important is to also inspire our young kids to want to do things the right way. Hence, All Me, right?
Yeah.
So we came up with All Me, and basically All Me means is when you see me, I've committed my life to living and competing without the use of performance-enhancing drugs. And thanks to the support of Major League Baseball and Major League Baseball players, we've got 40 Major League Baseball players representing all 30 Major League Baseball teams that have stepped forward to be role models for our young kids. So here in Cleveland, for the Cleveland Indians, it's Jason Kipnis. Great guy. These guys are wearing this gear. They're encouraging kids to take the pledge, and we're so proud to be partnered with him.
He's a great ambassador.
A wonderful ambassador.
How long has this been in the making?
This has been about 4 years that we've been doing this, and I remember when we started this Major League Baseball Advisory Board, if you will, our initial discussion with the commissioner's office is we'd be successful with 5. And, after the first spring training, we had 13, and then we had guys that wanted to step forward. They started seeing the shirts, like, man, these shirts are cool. This messaging is great. How do I become a part of this? And we've also partnered with Getty Images. They donate all the images of the players, so we run public service ads.
Oh, that's great.
Look in the All-Star Game program, you'll see Christian Yelich, who is our advisory board member from the Milwaukee Brewers. So, couldn't do this without baseball and their players.
And how are you reaching these high schools and high school athletes? Are you actually going out all over the country and talking like you are now, or how do you do it?
Good question. So we have 2 assembly programs. So our education style outside of our website and social media would be through assembly. So we have 4 speakers on staff that will go into middle schools, high schools, and colleges around the country. They call us, say, hey, we'd love for you to come in. They bring all the kids in. We deliver a program, sometimes up to 5 or 6 in a day to school to ensure that we get all the kids.
Wow.
And we also encourage bring the community in, bring the parents in, especially the moms and the dads.
Yes. You've got to because you've got to start the conversation. You've got to start those conversations.
You're right.
Well, I'll tell you, I tip of the cap to you and the foundation. If people want to know more, social media-wise, your website, how do they get in touch?
Best way to do it is come to our website, and it's www.taylorhooton, that's with all O's, .org. And we've got tons of information. They can learn more about our All Me League there. But we're also on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. So, please come follow us. And if you guys are here today at Play Ball Park, stop by our booth. We're giving away really cool wristbands and, encouraging people to take a selfie in our selfie frame and take the pledge to live and compete without the use of performance-enhancing drugs.
Oh, that's great.
All Me.
Thank you for being
here. Yeah,
here.
thank you guys so much.
You.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Amazing
Continued
event.
success.
Thank you guys so much.
All right, that's Don Hooton from the Taylor Foundation.
Hey, you know how, kids now, they want to be bigger, faster, stronger.
Yes, because the
reasons.
As he says, the pressure's out there.
Yeah, and they feel the pressure sometimes to get that college scholarship, to get noticed. And we've all seen it on sandlots and in football fields where parents think that their kid is going to be the next great player, and they have no good reason to think that. So I'm not suggesting that parents are pushing kids into this kind of thing, but there is sort of this left unsaid or unspoken pressure to be good at stuff.
And that pressure kind of leads to, in some cases, the toxic environment that starts that starts down that road. And the fact that they're going to the schools, but also thinking community-based and thinking, okay, let's have the conversation with moms and dads. Let's have the conversations with coaches.
Yeah.
It's not just the kids. It's a collective effort. That's pretty.
I got on the website yesterday and read about Taylor, and I recommend that people do that if they have kids playing sports, because it's, he was a very good athlete already, and maybe that went undetected then, that a kid who was already that good would attempt to make himself better. But there's a lot of things for parents to learn by reading about this.
Yeah, that's again Taylor Hooton with 2 O's, as Ton said, .org. And if you're down here at Play Ball Park, definitely stop by their booth and learn more about the Taylor Hooton Foundation. We were talking before Don came over, just kind of, what the Indians are facing here as we get into the end of the first half today. They're going to play the Reds, and then everything shuts down, of course, for the All-Star break, and everything kind of comes here to Cleveland. It's already here. I got to tell you, if you go back to where the Indians were Memorial Day, I didn't think we'd be having this conversation.
Yeah.
I thought the Indians were double digits behind the Twins. They were well back in the wild card, and it's like, it's just not going to be their year. But how things change after you go 17-9 in June and kind of keep that momentum going here in July.
And we get another kind of a head-to-head glimpse, reckoning of this matchup between the Twins and the Indians coming out of the All-Star break.
Right.
So I wrote something the other day saying that that those first 3 games could mean the difference between being 3.5 behind or 8.5 behind again. And I got beat up on Twitter by saying, "Oh, it's never gonna." That's only if it's a sweep one way or the other. They're still, but I think the front office is looking for reasons to believe that this team can chase down the Twins. I don't know that it makes sense for them to go out after off season of cutting payroll to go out and spend money to go chase a wild card. I don't think they'll do it.
I don't think they will
either.
It
may make sense, but I don't think they'll do it. I think they want to see whether they have that clear path to an October series. If they could get, at the Twins within a couple, 2-3 games, then we might see them say, we're not trading anybody at the deadline. We're going to try to chase this down. But it's going to be hard to justify spending more money if you're still 5-6 games out at the end of July. I don't think they'll do it.
I don't think they will either. It's like I said. I mean, their mentality in the offseason was, look, we're gonna trim. We're gonna trim all. We're gonna trade Yan Gomes. We're gonna not bring back Michael Brantley. We're gonna slim down the payroll. We're gonna kind of tighten our belts a little bit.
And look at some of the decisions the front office made. I mean, I've gotten grief from readers for a long time for saying that this organization was the best organization in town by far. And I didn't think there was much argument for that. But the point was, well, hey, Dan Gilbert delivered a championship here. Yes, he did, because LeBron James came back again.
Correct.
And that's not to take away his propensity to spend has been very important for that organization. But this front office has had to make tough decisions without a real thick wallet. And what they did with trading Gomes, now we see Roberto Perez. Nobody is saying, "Oh, why did they do that?"
Yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, I was sitting there in the offseason going, "Really?" And,
I know.
I mean, Jim Donovan and I did shows. It's like, why?
Yeah.
But now they saw that Roberto, as a hitter, was ready to kind of take a next step of elevation.
I think the same thing with they made their run with spending on Edwin Encarnacion, and they decided they were going to step back and they get Carlos Santana for 2 years instead of Encarnacion for 1. I think we can see that that's worked out fairly well. not everything they do works out. I understand that. I still don't understand. Like, I would think this team could chase the Twins down if you told me that Michael Brantley was still in this lineup.
Yes.
So I didn't agree with everything they did, but I think under tough circumstances, they've got some pretty smart baseball people in this organization that year in and year out make more good decisions than bad
ones. And I go back. It's to, you know, when it started for me. Like this run was when, even before, I mean, obviously it's kind of like you luck out with LeBron James being from Cleveland and Akron.
Yeah.
You luck out because Terry Francona had affinity for Mark Shapiro and Chris Antonetti, and you know, during that time between his managerial stops in Philadelphia and Boston. You luck out. I mean, but it works out well for you. But at the same time, you know, you make the most of it. But to me, it was like when they traded Ubaldo Jimenez. Or for Ubaldo Jimenez, to me, that's when it started. Now, we are going to have a pair of special guests joining us here from the Negro Leagues. I'm very, very excited. We're going to have two players, Jim Robinson and Pedro Sierra here. And we'll get the guys over here in a second as we continue from Play Ball Park. Bud's going to leave us here. All right, come on in. Hi, I'm Dave. Fine. All right, we'll get you guys on headset. All right.
Can you hear me?
I hear you. You hear me?
A little bit.
All right.
We're on this side,
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Now, we've got Jim Robinson and we've got Pedro Sierra here. I am honored to welcome you guys to Cleveland and welcome you guys to Play Ball Park. First things first, you guys look great. I mean, I'm sitting there looking at ages. I mean, you guys both look like tremendous. How has this experience been to be in Cleveland for the All-Star festivities?
It has been great. Something wonderful to see the welcoming of the fans, not only for the All-Star, but for us, and people, the interest in knowing some background on the Negro League and from other than reading from us. And this is a great experience. I feel elated to be around here in Cleveland, and it's great.
Yeah, this is a really exciting because we've been to a number of All-Star games at a number of convention centers, and I'm really impressed with the layout here. I'm amazed at how they put it together, and it really tells me that they really put their mind to it, and they wanted to really do something good.
Well, and one of the first things that caught my when I came down the escalator the other day and was here was the Negro League exhibit, and the fact, and that's one of the things I love about baseball, honors its history, and not just Major League history, but the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, the Negro Leagues, the Latin America, and the influence in the game. They take care of you guys, and that's important.
That is important. Very important.
It to me, I have a dual emotion just to see the layout of the Negro League exhibit, and also the one of the Hispanic. I say Hispanic is something very important to me that is shown the impact that Latinos made in baseball. Okay, and it is something to see the acceptance of the public and the recognition that Major League Baseball gives to those two groups.
Because it for us here in Cleveland, it's important because of Larry Doby. We sit and you walk around Progressive Field, we see the Larry Doby statue, and it's a reminder, the first American League African-American player right here in Cleveland, it's Larry Doby. But I know, and I've talked to Larry, he would say, but it was the guys before me that allowed me to get here.
Yeah.
And you guys were the ones, I always think about Buck O'Neill.
Yeah.
And he is an ambassador. You guys as ambassadors that enabled Jackie Robinson and Larry Doby and everybody else to get here.
Right. One of the things that I always think about is that those guys before us, they really laid the groundwork. they made it possible for us to be here, and we will never forget that. And the fact that there's a Negro League Museum exhibit here, we will spend some time there in the next couple of days because we want people to know that we were part of it, and we appreciate the fact that they're going to come and see what they can learn about Negro League history, you know, because it is so important.
You know, the same thing. I'm riding the shoulders of, you know, the Larry Dobies and Mickey, and all them guys, you know, Buck Leonard, all those guys that were great, and also the Cuban guys, because Cuba had a bunch of players, a ton of players that played in the Negro League, you know, from Martin Diego, Manny Minoso, guys who are with the shoulders who are riding, guys who I said, those are my heroes. Okay, you know.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Cuba. We were talking about it the other day. Because number one, I think Louis Tiant should be in the Hall of Fame. That's number one. Right. But number two is that, you know, people might not know that Negro Leaguers have, you know, you guys played your season, but in a lot of cases, season's over, you guys packed up and went down into Latin America and played down in Latin America in the wintertime, you know, as not spring training, but kind of a winter ball, so to speak.
Being Cuban, that's what I got the chance to see Joe Black, Ray Dandridge, Mona Irvin, a group of guys that have played there. We had tons of guys that came through there, you know, and they said, those growing up, we start thinking more, I want to be like this guy. You know, so this is guys who really, Bob Boyd, Kurt Roberts, you know, those guys that went there between Cuba, the Dominican Republic, and, you know, they played there, you know, and it was so important. We try to imitate, other than imitate the Cuban players, you know, Silvio Garcia and all them guys, Pedro Fomental, we try to imitate, you know, Joe Black and all those guys, you know. It was funny, a lot of people don't know, but Willie Mays went there, but he couldn't play because he had a problem with his ankle.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he went to Cuba to play with Armendariz Blues team, but he never got to play. Okay? So, you know, so this is something that I see and I carry, those guys, you know, that was so meaningful in my life in baseball.
Right. Yeah, one of the things that's important is that the fact that those guys, after their regular season, then went to Cuba, it was a matter of survival. They didn't make enough money to lay off during the winter. Mm-hmm. You know, they had families, many of them. So it was a matter of trying to get enough money to support their families and to make things do with their families back home. And so they had to continue playing because that was a means of income. You know?
I've got about a minute left with you guys. Favorite player that you guys played with?
That I played with. Okay. Well, one that always comes to mind is a guy named Walter Barnes. We were teammates, and before the season was over, he got drafted, I think, by the Houston team, and he ended up going to the major leagues. And then when they would come to New York City, he would always call me, and we would have dinner together, or we'd go to the local pub and have a beer so I could show him off. Hey, this guy was my teammate, you know.
Yeah. For me, it was a player that I played with. My hero and my friend and my mentor was Manny Minoso.
Yes.
But I played against him in Mexico.
Oh,
but
wow,
I knew him from Cuba, and he meant so much to a lot of Cubans. And then in '72, I went to play in the Mexican League, and they were playing in Union Laguna, and it was like we played against each other. And then you start thinking in retrospect, I'm pitching against a guy who was my hero.
That's amazing.
It's very, very amazing. And then through the years after, we in Union City, New Jersey, they had a game, remember, in the past, and we were playing against each other too. But it was very impacting.
That's amazing. Welcome to Cleveland. I'm so happy to have met both of you. Enjoy the rest of the festivities.
Thank you.
Jim Robinson and Pedro Sierra from the Negro Leagues are here, and they are legit heroes.
Thank you, Cleveland.
Okay.
Thank you for being here as we welcome them to Play Ball Park. And again, check out give yourself time when you come down to Play Ball Park. Please go over to the Negro League exhibit. Go over to the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League exhibit. Go over and see the influences and kind of it's the family of baseball, and that's really what it is. And Jim and Pedro are an important part of that. They've got stories to tell, and the fact that we were able to get 10 good minutes of stories from them is pretty great. As I welcome back in Bud Shaw. The guys wanted to do the interviews together. That's why, and we only had 3 headsets.
Hey, that's
pretty remarkable stuff.
That's great. Yeah, I'm glad they wanted to do it together. They were great.
Cliff,
yeah.
Come on in. We go from a couple of Negro League legends to Cliff Floyd from the MLB Network, who had a tremendous MLB career. Are you also doing radio too? At one point, I know.
Yeah, I was, and
okay.
then I outgrew it.
Yeah, I kind of did the same thing.
I wish we could say the same.
Yeah, no, it was fun. Radio gives you a chance to express yourself a little bit more.
Yeah, sure.
Right, TV, you're real quick.
There you go.
So,
hey,
but I love being at the network. It's awesome.
When you look here, we had Tony Oliva on earlier. Obviously, a great Minnesota Twins player. You look at the AL Central right now. Do you think the Twins are a team that is situated to go out and add to their roster at the trade deadline?
You have to think that way, right? What they've done this year is maybe a year too late as far as when you look at the talent they had, and you can put a lot of that on Rocco Baldelli being a guy that demands some of the things he demands as just a manager. And I've known Rocco for a long time, but when you have a shot, and what we've seen in this game is that window closes quick. Mm-hmm. And if you don't take advantage of opportunities when they present themselves, you might come up short. So you might want to think about a little bit more as far as adding, but you got to add the right pieces. I always talk about adding the right pieces. What's the right piece? Well, not a guy that's going to disrupt the chemistry that we've already created. Right. So that guy can't just come in because the talent's great. Just allow him to come in and disrupt what we're doing. So I think those are important factors as far as going out and getting guys at the deadline.
Are the Indians where you thought they would be at this point, given the fact that they actually tightened their belt in the offseason and didn't bring back players, traded off other players,
Brantley,
but yet they're still kind of in the thick of things? You
know what? I said this before the season started. They did sit on their hands a little bit more than I thought they would, and obviously it's a small market, and I get those type of things. You can't rely on pitching. You got to hope that the players that you have in the outfield that's going to replace Brantley and replace some of the players show up, and they didn't early, and it hurt them, right? So Los has been terrific over there. I think you seeing the real Carlos Santana. Not having Jose Ramirez be the player he is, or we know him to be, it's probably hurt him a little bit more. Frankie was hurt, so you have some obstacles to climb, and then Kluber goes down. Then Carrasco has this situation. Hopefully everything works out with him. So a lot has happened with this team, and these 6.5 foul is a miracle for them. It should be, right? And I thought this division was over a couple months ago. I did. I really thought the Twins were going to run away with this thing, and the Indians have basically said, well, we don't believe who they are.
Yeah, Tom Verducci from SI had written something earlier saying he had not seen a drop-off like Jose Ramirez has had since, and I think he cited like Terry Pendleton back when Pendleton was a part of the Atlanta Braves.
Right.
Do you think do you have any ideas, first of all, on what you see when you see him in a batter's box? Do you see something that tells you he's not the same hitter right now?
You know what? In this game, I always say you can pinpoint the little things, because if the game is simple, and I always keep the game simple in my mind. That's the only way I can play it without driving myself crazy. Is Jose Ramirez is missing his pitch. He's fouling off balls that we've seen him crush numerous times, and then when he does hit him, he hits some foul. So that plays a big part in why guys stink, right? Like I used to go to the park and go, wait a minute, okay, last year this ball right here, middle end, I used to crush it, and I had no problems with it. The middle way when I hit left center gap, I had no problems with it. I missed a few, but it's okay. That's part of it. You're going to fail in this game. What you're seeing from Jose right now is he's fouling off pitches, they pitching him tough, and then he's striking out, or he's popping up, or he's rolling up, and he's playing into the shift. So, and then the art of the game is, keeping it simple. But he's a switch hitter, right? So Now you're working on both sides.
Right.
Now you got to go to right. You don't just get to go down there and work on the left side and go, okay, I get this swing right. Now I got to go to the other side.
Yeah,
and
that's
get it right
a
too.
great
So
point.
A lot is going on in my man's head, but I always say you never know who's going to struggle at the start of the year. But I really don't believe this is who he is.
Yeah.
What are the Indians going to do or going to have to do about the Francisco Lindor problem? Now, it's not a problem in 2019.
No.
But, you know, I mean, we had Carlos Baerga sitting where you were the other day, and Carlos
What'd he
was
say?
like, Baerga's like,
He begged Lindor to stay.
Baerga begged him to
He
stay.
didn't have a reason to. He didn't have any money to offer him.
That's
but
right.
He begged him to
That's
stay.
right. He begged him to stay. It's like you can't leave Cleveland. But, you know, reality and the owner took a little heat for basically, I think, saying the truth that, hey, look, we've got him for 3 more seasons. Now it's 2.5. Let's see what happens. Enjoy it. Let's see what happens. But the reality is he's going to be a $300 to $400 million player in the current baseball market.
Yeah, well, he don't fit here then.
Right.
Call a spade, right? The truth is
Yeah.
you build him up then, and if you know you can't keep him, you get a boatload back. You keep him healthy. You make sure he plays, make sure he's happy, make sure he says the right thing about the organization, and then you start filling voids on your roster because if you're talking $300-400 million, I mean, has it ever happened here?
No.
Okay,
Right.
so
No.
you're right. So as you move forward, that's where the game is at. Now the owner can dig deep and say, look, this guy is needed. He's a poster child. He does everything on the field that you want to do. Everything off the field. He has a beautiful smile. All the things that you want as far as having that bona fide stud player that walk through your doors and you want to, everything falls under Frankie. But if you can't pay the man, he has to go. But you have to make sure that you're in a position to get the maximum out of him and not have your back against the wall and have to give him away.
Right.
Sometimes we see organizations do that and you go, well, you have to trade him. When are you going to do it? You're going to wait till you think you get the most for him, or you're going to do it when you know you got the right package and you just make that deal?
You were part of a team in '97 that loaded up that year.
Yeah.
Won a World Series. As people here, I
Yeah.
think have.
I didn't wear the ring, though.
And remember. But you also were part of that team, that organization for the next 3 or 4 years
Yeah.
after they dismantled it. What was that like? I mean,
It
it's
was
not
awful.
like this is anything new that markets have to do this, right?
It was awful. You know, we won the World Series, and all of a sudden you dismantle, and you're thinking, well, is it bad because you dismantle, or is it because I got a chance to play? Right now, I'm getting a chance to play, and I think that's what happens. Doors open for guys to play, and then you see, and then maybe you feel like the Astros. You get this talent back, and then they major league ready, and then all of a sudden you blossom, and then you still contend in a division that's going to be tough in a couple of years. So Sox are going to be better. Twins are already playing ball, right? So it's going to be a tough division to win in. The Royals, I think, is going to come back too. But back to '97 and after that, it was tough to find the right chemistry. A lot of guys playing for their lives. Youngsters playing, just trying to play, not really understand the team concept, right? And I think that was something we lacked too, because I wanted my 25 homers and 100 RBIs, but I need to get paid. and that's the young mentality.
They didn't offer you $400 million?
They didn't say $400 million. So I didn't want to go back to AAA, but you have to then build back up from the floor, and it's always tough, and especially when you lose a player like Lindor. And I'm not saying he's going to leave. He might end up staying, but if you lose a player of that caliber, you can't replace him.
Yeah,
They
right.
just irreplaceable.
That 97 team that you played on, it was a super team in
Yeah.
sense because there was talent everywhere. But you also had a manager that was able to kind of keep it together in Jim Leyland, because it's not easy to do through the course of 162 games. Terry Francona's like that kind of manager too, where the ups and the downs never seem to bother Tito.
Yeah.
He's able to ride it out and keep everybody focused on the same direction.
Yeah, man, it's ultra important. And when you have those type of personalities, it allows everything to always run smooth. I always sort of associate those guys with like flight attendants. When the flight attendants calm, cool, collect, we ain't tripping. Right, but when
great
they start,
analogy. I
when
love
they
it.
start running up and
That's
down
right.
the aisles, you're like, oh, Lord of mercy, right? Like, so I think when you look at what Tito and some of these guys and Jim Leyland and what these guys brought to the table was, if I ain't tripping, then y'all shouldn't trip.
Yeah.
Y'all just play the game. I'm gonna put you in a position to be successful. Leland used to take Devon White out of center field and go, "Yo, you playing center field today?" I go, "Huh? That's not why I don't play center field, but I play center field, and I made myself that versatile player." when you watch Tito and you watch how he's playing his guys, you watching how guys are playing, he's not going to say, I've given up on you, Jose. I'm going to make you figure it out. I'm going to make you guys in the outfield figure it out. It's guys that come up and fill the spots in rotation, figure it out, right? Please cycle. You got to figure it out on the fly. This game sort of lacks at times is guys thinking that they have to change everything when they come up.
Right.
No, just play your role, stay in your lane, and help the team win every night, and do what you can do, because you can't be Superman. You ain't gonna hit 4 homers every night like you do in the minor leagues. It's just not gonna happen up here.
Right.
And if it does happen,
I never thought of Francona as the Sully Sullenberger of Major League Baseball, but I kind of like it now.
Yeah, and that's the guys you always tend to remember.
Yeah.
The ones who always said, look, man, like, chill, right? Like, bring you in the office, door always open. When I've done games, Tito's the first to sit there and have a 20-minute conversation when it really should be 10. Right, just to give you a little extra. Gonna always give you a little extra, but always, give you something to think about, something you hadn't thought about when you walk into that room. You leave with a little bit extra.
The only thing I like more than that analogy is that hat. I gotta say.
You know what? So, Hat Club is a company that's doing minor league hats, and they send out a couple hats every month, and they say, look, wear them and tell people where to go. Hatclub.com. So you go there, and they have all the minor league hats.
So which is this?
This is the Grasshoppers
From
the Marlins.
Marlins?
Okay.
Yeah. So
Excellent.
I have about 4 or 5 of them. Not this color, but I like the colors that they bring.
I was going to say the color is what makes it.
You got orange, you got red, you got blue, and those, they sort of go with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you can wear any color.
I was going to say, you'll make it work.
Thank
Cliff,
you.
thanks for stopping by.
Thanks
It's
for
great to
having me.
have
It's
you here.
awesome.
Good to have you in
Appreciate it,
Cleveland.
Cliff.
Good luck in the second half.
And I'm glad you're not wearing a Marlins jersey, but it's good to have you in
know what? I
Cleveland.
had it in the room, and I thought about a lot of things I had to change this weekend.
Cliff Floyd from the MLB Network, terrific player during his time in the major leagues as well. It was a big part of that 97 Marlins team. People forget, and people are going to say, "Oh, Dino, why are you talking about a terrible time?" Because they were a 1 year, because they were built to win 1 year, and then Wayne Huizenga basically stripped it down after they won the championship. The fact that the Indians came this close to winning. I don't know if it gets appreciated because that was a great team.
It was.
The Florida
There's a
Marlins
lot of
had a
talent
great
on
collection
that
of
team
talent.
and a very good manager, obviously. I remember being at the game down there. I won't drag.
Were you with Donovan in the clubhouse when they were getting it ready?
We were certainly outside. We were outside in the hall. So when the doors opened and Dick Jacobs walked in, expecting, we saw the cellophane.
Yeah, the cellophane on the
plastic
lockers
was up,
for the
covering
champagne
the
spray.
lockers. We were told later that Chad Oj's name had begun to get etched onto the MVP trophy.
Yeah, I always wondered.
Won twice.
I always wondered about that, if it was going to be Chad Oj or if it would have been Jarrett Wright.
Yeah, I think he was. He had won twice in the series, and they were
Plus, he had. I think he had in Game 6. Oj. I think he had an RBI.
He did.
Like a double
absolutely.
in that game.
And after that game, you go down hospitality areas to get something to eat afterwards. And what struck me most and made me the saddest for Cleveland fans was that a lot of those Marlins fans, because baseball was sort of transient and new down there anyway, but that team had just been thrown together and was about to be dismantled. They didn't even know some of their own players, Whereas you knew what it would have meant to
exactly.
people
It would have changed everything in that mid-'90s team. All right, we're going to get Peter Banks in here. He's from Major League Baseball. He is the VR of MLB. Peter, good to have you with us here.
Well, Shaw, nice to meet you.
One of the great things, there's so many great things you can do here at Play Ball Park and take advantage of it. There are clinics, there are exhibits. There's also some virtual reality going on, and you're our guy for that.
Absolutely. We love Play Ball Park. We love All-Star Game. It's just a big party for baseball, and it's a lot of fun. What we're bringing to the party is Home Run Derby VR. This is an interactive virtual reality experience. You put on the headset, you pick up the bat, and you hit home runs just like the guys do in the Derby. And anyone can do it. Anyone can do it. In addition to that, we're having a tournament this weekend, so anyone who plays has a chance to win.
Wow.
Well, how does the tournament work?
Yes.
So this is a lot of fun. We've deployed this thing all over the world. We're in 20 ballparks. We were just in London. We're in Japan. We're in China. But this is a special event for us. All the fans who come here to Play Ball Park and get a chance to play Home Run Derby VR can post a score to our leaderboards. The top 32 scorers will be invited back tomorrow at 2 o'clock to compete for prizes. The winner gets 4 tickets to the All-Star Game.
Wow.
Trophy from Tiffany, Louisville Slugger bat, all kinds of great stuff. And we're going to be streaming it live on Twitch at MLB_games at 2 o'clock.
So you've taken this all over the world, basically?
Absolutely.
How was the London experience?
Amazing. It was so good. I mean, it's so fun everywhere we take it. But London, you know, they have their own baseball culture there. Luckily, the guys put on 2 phenomenal games for them. It was lovely. I mean, that first game especially, man, was awesome. I mean, that was like a home run derby itself, right? Yeah, absolutely. No, that was tremendous, though. We had the game set up at a place called London Yards, the Truman Brewery, and that was great. It was terrific.
And where have you gone in Asia?
Asia, we've been in Tokyo. We were at the Tokyo Dome for the Japan opening series. We've been all over China. Activated in Korea as well. I mean, this is just a way to bring baseball, Major League Baseball, to people who don't see it all the time. And, you know, the virtual reality experience is so immersive to be transported to Progressive Field.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. I mean, it's hard probably to explain without actually putting it on, but
you guys should come over.
I have to stop by. I got to see
From a sensory standpoint, what are people experiencing?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the audio is immersive. You have 360-degree audio. Anywhere you look, you'll feel like you're in Progressive Park. The dirt underfoot looks just like our authentic dirt. If you turn around behind you, you've got the fans cheering, and every time you hit a home run, the fireworks go off for you.
Because that's, I mean, with the technology, you know, you're able to just continue to kind of elevate the experience.
Absolutely.
On and on.
Yeah, you know, we work with HTC. They make the Vive Pro headset. The resolution on this thing is incredible, and every iteration of the headset they put out is just more and more immersive. The level of detail is really something else, and, you know, again, it's like wherever you look, that's where you are. We use a thing called 6 degrees of freedom, which basically means you can move any direction, and that's where your virtual avatar will move. So it's really something else. Like I said, you guys got to try it. I'll get you to the front of the line.
I'm going to stop by. I got to see this. As you go forward, keeping it kind of with the technology, because everything changes. That's one thing we work here in digital media. I mean, everything changes. Software changes. You know, the phones change.
Yeah.
How has that been a challenge for you?
You know, it's been really an opportunity, I think, for baseball in general. You know, part of what we do with our technology, giving people new ways to play, also new ways to watch and to consume. So, you know, we're working with YouTubers, with streamers. We actually have some really popular online guys, Fuzzy and Shelfie, who are hosting our tournament. Okay. So, you know, they're really big with the younger generation especially. They play a lot of baseball video games. They play the show, and these kids are watching not just on TV like we may have when we grew up. They're watching on their phones. They're watching on YouTube. They're watching on Twitch. So we'll be streaming on Twitch, and that's where a lot of their audiences is. So like I said, MLB_games is our Twitch channel, but then obviously Fuzzy and Shelfie have their own channels where they have tens of thousands of fans loving their stuff. So, you know, we walk through here, and you see the people were running up to Cliff Floyd here, getting his autograph. I see kids 10 and 12-year-old running over to Fuzzy and running over to Shelfie for their autographs. It's like you say, the technology is something else. It's really amazing.
Cool. Well, listen, Peter, thanks for stopping by and joining us.
I really appreciate it, guys. I'm so proud to be your big fan. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's our pleasure. Our pleasure here as we continue here at Play Ball Park. We'll be here for another half hour or so at WKYC.com. We're also on Facebook Live and on YouTube. At some point, I think Curtis Danberg is going to be here.
Oh, good.
I thought that was.
I see him walking up now. So
yes,
you know, I was the
pride of Menor High School and Bowling Green State University.
I was a high school pitcher and played against Lenny Barker in summer leagues. And I gave up so many home runs. It would be nice to go over there and hit a couple. I would just like to hit one or two to see how I made those hitters feel. All
I would like to just, you know, have fireworks go off one time. I would be at one time. If I could do that, life would be good.
How are you? Good to see you.
Curtis Danberg.
What's up, Dino? I'm just glad there weren't fireworks when I was pitching, because I would have got really tired of that sound.
Well, speaking
back in Philly,
back in those Philly days, how has this been for you, the Play Ball Park experience in day 3 as this All-Star festivities extravaganza continues. Nice shirt, by the way.
Thank you. I think everything, it's been incredible. And, walking around downtown, I walked from the hotel all the way to Voinovich Park for the color run today, and just to see the city, the way it's illuminated and how colorful it is, it makes me proud to be a Clevelander. I mean, Cleveland is showcasing itself to the world in a very high level right now, and I couldn't be prouder.
Yeah, you guys have been working on this for a long, long time, right?
Yeah, it's been going over a year.
An idea? Okay. When this all started?
We announced this January of 18, and then a group of about 30 of us went to D.C. last year to kind of survey the situation and take it in. And then beginning August, when we unveiled the logo, from that point on, it's been almost monthly Major League Baseball coming into town. And it's been a true collaboration between the Indians organization, Major League Baseball, City, Cleveland, the Sports Commission. So that core group is what has made all this happen.
It's interesting talking to Austin the other day, and I think this was true in '97, the last time the All-Star Game was here. There's a lot of trust from Major League Baseball in the way that the Cleveland Indians and the rest of the partners, can run an event. And Major League Baseball is not afraid to have a red carpet ceremony, to have a parade leading up to the red carpet and the opening of the All-Star Game. They're not afraid to try out things because the organization has shown and continues to show they can handle it.
Well, I think having the World Series in 2016 really, and for them to come to Progressive Field and see all the new amenities and everything we've done, the infrastructure changes, really elevated our ability to get this. And then you combine that with the city, who put showcase to the world that they could do a big event with the RNC.
Yeah.
You combine all those things, and that's why we're here today.
Curtis Danberg is our guest. So, we've had concerts. We've had Play Ball Park. I mean, now I kind of feel like everything is getting ramped up a notch today because as we continue at Play Ball Park, later on over at Progressive Field, you get the future stars showcasing themselves, and then you have some fun with the celebrity softball game leading into tomorrow and then Tuesday.
Yeah, so the celebrity softball game will start at 5 o'clock. They'll tape that and re-air it after the Derby tomorrow. Futures game comes right after that. It's been a 90s reunion, so you've got Jim Thome facing off against Dennis Martinez as manager.
I love that.
You've got coaches from Omar Vizquel and Carlos Baerga and Sean Casey. Charlie Manuel is Jimmy's bench coach, so it's going to be a lot of fun. And then we have Rock and Blast to finish it out. So sold out Sunday night, then you transition into Monday. Sold out again. You've got the workout day, followed by Home Run Derby, and then Tuesday, obviously, the Midsummer Classic.
You don't know anybody who's going to be singing a national anthem at any of these events, do you?
Well, I can tell you for tomorrow, or for today, we've got Lila Thome singing the celebrity softball game. So
is that
pretty cool tie-in with Jimmy.
Great.
Jimmy's going to participate in it, as well as his son Landon's going to make a cameo in the softball game. And then Brianna Alomar, Sandy's daughter, is going to sing before the Futures game.
Excellent.
So how cool is that?
Yeah, that's really cool.
That is tremendous. Talking to Carlos the other day when he was over with us, and I just sense that there's these Indians alums. They really enjoy being ambassadors, not just for the Indians, but for Major League Baseball with the kids and with events like this. Because there's still still a big hug, I think, from fans to those mid-'90s, that Jacobs Field era Cleveland Indians teams, and they still get a kick out of being around and being here.
They do, and Carlos takes it to a whole different level. He's been, I think, at every single event, including the media events on Wednesday. I turn around, and his energy level's been, fascinating to see. But then I was there at the coaches meeting yesterday, and to see all those guys hang out and talk and tell stories because the National League came out as the American League was going in the room, and it's fun to see the pride they have in the city and the camaraderie amongst that group.
There's a great story when you mentioned Charlie Manuel. It's some of the greatest stories ever not written.
Yeah, exactly right.
But I just remember him talking about being a manager at the AAA level. Maybe he can impart some of this to Jim. His pitcher's getting hit around. He goes out to him, and as soon as he gets near the mound, the kid says, "I'm good, Skip. I'm good. I can do it. I'm not tired. I'm not tired." And he said, "I know some, but my outfielders are." So if he gets if he has half of those words of wisdom for Jim Thome, it'll be great.
That's Charlie in a nutshell.
That's
right
Charlie.
there.
My personal favorite is whenever he would say anything Japanese. He would say that ball was whatever, and then he goes, that's Japanese for home run. I mean, it's like, wow, where did that go?
He hit a few of those in Japan back in his playing days.
Yes, he did.
And things of that sort.
Has does it make it more special as we get ready here for especially for tomorrow and Tuesday, the fact that Carlos Santana was elected? And I think the Indians did a terrific job on social media getting fans out there to encourage the vote. But does it make it's got to make it more special for the entire organization that Carlos is going to be a part of things on Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, for us to get 4 All-Stars now with Shane Bieber being added, but to get Carlos in, we were very excited that happened. And kudos to everybody out there that voted. Yeah. I love the new format. The new format helped a smaller market team because it wiped everything clean. It allowed our impact or our social media strategy to come through and get people to get behind him. So we were certainly bummed that Lindor didn't even get the chance to get in the final 3. But the fact he's an all-star with Brad Hand and, like I said, Shane Bieber, and for Carlos to participate in the home run derby hitting contest is going to be pretty neat. Because I was there in Cincy in 15 when Todd Frazier won it.
Yes.
And the way the crowd, it was one of the coolest moments ever, and I hope we can experience that tomorrow.
This event is great, stands on its own, but to have 4 All-Stars and also be making a charge the way you guys are, it's a good vibe.
And I think people need to remember and not lose sight of the fact that, yes, the All-Star Game's here, but the Twins come to town next weekend.
Yes.
And it's an important series for us coming out of the second half.
That with Cliff Floyd, too.
I mean, that's the thing. We're going to enjoy these.
And we've got
tickets. We've got tickets.
We've got tickets.
Tickets available.
A little plug.
Indians.com. Log on. But that's going to be a big thing, Curtis. Is there is a nice vibe about this ball club right now. 17-9 in the month of June, playing well here in the month of July. There's a nice momentum here. With this team, as this Twins series will be on the horizon after the break.
I mean, hopefully we win today. We get to 50 wins. Right now we're at the same record we were last year. Twins lose, we'll be 5.5 games going into the second half. And think of the adversity we've been through.
Yeah.
I mean, take an entire rotation, and we've probably been talking about it all day. I mean, it's amazing how Tito has kept this piece together, our player development system. Guys like Shane Bieber, whose first big league camp is going to be an all-star. Aaron Civale jumps in there.
Yes.
Zach Plesac has helped out. I mean, our whole rotation's been decimated. And the way we hit, so the bats are starting to come alive. So it's exciting to see. This is the right time. There's a long season left.
Yeah, for sure.
But I agree. I think Terry Francona is having another one of those manager of the year type years. I mean, he really has done a great job keeping this team together in the midst of everything.
And it's funny, you look at it, you can't point to that, but our winning, the team has rallied around Carlos Carrasco. And obviously the news broke yesterday, and certainly everybody's thinking about him and praying and certainly have his back to make sure he recovered. Treatable leukemia, but when we heard blood disorder and heard leukemia, and he wasn't ready to talk about it, but now he is, and one of the most philanthropic people I've ever met. And there's no question he's going to take this and make this an opportunity of spreading the word and helping the cause.
Yeah.
One of the most genuine, sweetest people in the world.
Thank you
Curtis,
for joining
it's good
us.
to see you, man.
It's always.
Hey,
You are as well.
one more plug.
What's up?
Community, come out on Tuesday for the red carpet show. So you mentioned, D.C., they didn't do the parade. They stopped, and in fact, they wanted to just focus on the red carpet parade, the red carpet show at the ballpark. But we said our community will support a great parade, so we're hoping 12:30 on Tuesday. It's going to start at the Hilton, go down Playball Park, take a right down south on East 9th Street all the way to the ballpark. We want the community to come out, free opportunity to get up close against and see the best players in the world.
That's amazing.
Thanks for having me.
Curtis, thanks for stopping by. Curtis Danberger, the Cleveland Indians, part of the just tremendous public relations staff that the Tribe has. And I always say, I look at Curtis, I'm like, I went to college with Curtis at Bowling Green.
Did?
Yeah,
Is that right?
Yeah. When before I became a broadcaster, I did some sports information work, and Curtis, of course, at that time was a big part of the sports information department at BG, and we had a great relationship then and do now.
Yeah,
and Curtis just talked about they're putting together the All-Star Game festivities. It's been a collective of 4. The Cleveland Indians, Major League Baseball, the City of Cleveland, and the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission. And the CEO and president is going to join us in just a second, David Gilbert, because it really is a partnership.
Hey, Dave. How are you? Good to see you.
David, good to see you, my man. It is a pleasure to have you. David Gilbert, CEO, president of the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission and Destination Cleveland. It's you look like it's like you're running a marathon and you're about 10 miles into the 26 miles. You're still keeping up the pace, but it's like, whew, this is long.
At the end of all of it, it'll feel like I just finished a marathon. But it's awesome. It's so energizing. Just walking around, you feel it. You feel it everywhere in this city. It's really amazing.
How long of a process was this for Sports Commission to get this event?
We're probably really in earnest about 2.5 years, and we were awarded the event about 2.5 years ago. The real work started, we work like this with the Indians day in and day out, and it's a great division of labor of the Indians in the city and us all working together, all taking pieces of it that we do best. And the last year in particular is where it really kicks into gear. MLB really starts concentrating the day after one All-Star game. They'll be thinking about LA
right, sure.
on Wednesday.
But that's that's not easy to do. To you have all these entities, having to share responsibility. The communication's got to be right. The partnership, the working relationship's got to be right. But I mean, when you walk around Cleveland, like you said, or you walk here at Play Ball Park, you see the results of the great working relationship because, I mean, the atmosphere speaks for itself.
Thankfully, we've done it before with a lot of other events, so a lot of these partners, there's a huge amount of trust, and that's the key. When you trust each other and you know one group is going to get something done, they're going to get it done great, and it's, in the end, from one city to another, it's about the little touches. We have a huge group out at the airport right now with bands and passing stuff out. Like every little thing, you try to think of where the visitor, every touch point for the visitor, and how do you do the little things that are going to make it great, that is going to be that memorable in people's minds about Cleveland.
How are you able to, and the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission, do all this? Because it's like you're working on the All-Star Game, but you have to keep a mind on the NCAA tournament next year. You've got to keep an eye on the NFL draft in 2021. You've loaded up here some great events over the next 5 years, and you got to have one eye on the present, but one eye on the future.
Yeah, I know it's very trite to say we have an unbelievable staff, but we do. And it's only 14 full-time staff people, a lot of interns and others, but it's also dividing. So while this is going on, we're back at the office working on future stuff. We had 5 national events over the past 3 months. We had 3 smaller NCAA championships in Cleveland. We had a major USA Wrestling event. We had the CONCACAF Gold Cup at First Energy Stadium. So you're right. It is always a little bit of thinking about the present and the future, but also where to make the best use of your time. An event like this takes so much more of your time. Some of the smaller ones, there's a lot to do, but you have to, you can't do all things for all events. So thankfully, we've been at it long enough that we've kind of learned how to do that, and also how many other people and organizations they want to jump in and help. And we have literally thousands of volunteers that are part of all this.
Yeah.
So that helps a great deal.
Yeah, my wife's from Indianapolis, so I've had a long history of watching that city try to bring amateur sports events to town.
They've really done it better than any other city in America. I think lately we've been nipping at their heels a bit, which is great. But I'd say as a community, they've embraced a future of their economy on the hosting of major events as much as any city in America, and it shows.
So do you have a white whale out there, this one event that you're bringing the Oscars here? Tell me that.
I would, it's interesting because think about that now that we got the draft in particular, as big as that's become.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's about the next home run. I think it's about sustaining.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm big on baseball analogies. It's about the constant singles and doubles, and you get these home runs that are off the charts. People see it. The nation takes notice. The world takes notice. But from the economy standpoint, it's 10, 12, 13 events every year that we're not going to be sitting here talking about, but are bringing in each one thousands of people, and even when you have an NCAA women's bowling championship, for that smaller group, they're just as passionate about their sport, and that's a cool thing to see.
Can you put it in terms for fans? They want to say, what does all this mean to Cleveland? What does this mean, if I'm not a baseball fan, but I'm excited because the All-Star Game is in Cleveland, can you put it in terms they understand of what this means impact-wise for the city?
I think it's three things. One is certainly financial. It's estimated based on past studies about $65 million will be spent in Cleveland this week from outside of Cleveland. And it creates a lot of jobs. It's a lot of taxes it spreads enormous amounts of money, but that's over the week. The national media, for a city like Cleveland to have an event that truly the nation and the world is watching doesn't happen very often.
Sure.
And again, for a city that's struggled with perception issues for generations, that makes a big difference, huge difference. And I think also a little bit unique to Cleveland is civic pride. We also battle. We're one of those cities that battles a little bit of a woe is us.
Right.
We're all Clevelanders. We've been beat down for a long time, but we keep getting up. and for Clevelanders to know this kind of stuff doesn't happen by accident. And the national media, what they're writing about Cleveland, they're not writing. They're writing this is a great event, but they're also writing this is a great city, and that's something we can be proud of. Yeah. And that has a long-lasting future effect for Cleveland.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I'm not from here. I moved here.
You've been here a long time, though.
Moved here in '91, but I noticed, initially when I moved here, that there was this. It felt like almost an inferiority complex back then, And I've seen it change over the years, and I think events like this are not maybe not the major reason, but they're part of the whole narrative.
Well, it's interesting. So, yesterday in particular, you start seeing people from out of town. They're dressed and you just listen to their conversations. You just hear constantly, "Well, I had no idea."
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe they had low expectations going in. We could take advantage of that. But it's fun to hear. I was just in line coming in here with the guy from behind me from Washington, D.C., hadn't been here in years. He's saying, this is just a cool town. I had no idea. And that, it's great to hear.
Yeah.
So much of it, and Curtis just mentioned it too, that it seems like from the RNC, a lot of this and what is coming in the future can be traced back to that summer of 2016. The RNC, of course, Cavs winning the championship in the parade, and of course the Indians in the World Series. But that RNC, that really has opened a lot of doors, hasn't it?
Absolutely. I think in particular, if you look at the NFL draft, there are 22 cities vying for the draft. It was far from a given that Cleveland would get it. And what we did with the RNC of all the events, because that's such an enormous outdoor, free to the public, huge event, they don't know how big it's going to grow. Every year since they moved it to a large outdoor festival, the fact that this community handled the RNC as well as we did, I know played a factor in the NFL choosing Cleveland. And it is amazing. That summer, it's funny. I remember in the same week in 2014. LeBron announced he was coming back, and later that week it was announced that we had gotten the RNC, and then here in the same short span in 2016, got the RNC. We win the championship with LeBron, and obviously the World Series in there as well. But it's that kind of stuff is easy to have go backward. You know, what you don't want is 20 years from now people say that was an awesome summer in Cleveland. You want it to be what you were talking about, that was the start of something.
Yeah.
Right.
And unless these things continue, having this here now, and NFL in 21, NBA in 22, Women's Final Four, we have NCAA first, second round next year, these constant things, and there'll be other non-sports as well. It's critical for that 16 isn't just going to be a page in a history book.
Yeah.
That was a cool time in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And it's funny, just thinking about other events, and you said other maybe non-sports things. I look at this building, and it's a perfect venue for something like this. It's in the perfect location. It really has. This has really evolved into a great facility to hold events like this.
It has. It's a beautiful space now with the Hilton next door. We really, for the size of this building, it's a moderately sized convention, but one of the nicest of its kind and size in the country. we're doing extremely well. And, you know, one of the keys for Cleveland is bringing people here to see it for themselves. Mm-hmm. And so when you have this constant flow of meetings, conventions, whether it's big things like this or, you know, a meeting of surgeons or the Ohio educators, so it doesn't matter what it is. It's people who are coming here, yes, to spend their money, but I think even more important for Cleveland to see it for themselves. And we talk about that's millions of first dates a year. And so how do we think about converting that into some kind of long-term relationship? How do we get more people to move here, to invest here? And for a city like Cleveland that doesn't have we're not Nashville, we're not Austin. We could be perception-wise down the road, but we need people to see it for themselves to get over that mental picture of what they think Cleveland might be.
That's a great point.
David, it's great to see you.
Thank you
for stopping by and coming down.
Thanks for doing
this. Congratulations on all this.
I hope you guys are going to get to enjoy some of this too.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
good,
definitely.
Good.
Because it's really Play Ball Park is just a phenomenal way to start the All-Star festivities, and it really gets you in the right baseball mood.
Absolutely.
All right, David Gilbert,
he
is the president and CEO of the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission and Destination Cleveland, and part of that partnership that we were talking about earlier, that you know, of people that brought the All-Star Game to Cleveland, Major League Baseball, the Cleveland Indians, the city of Cleveland itself, and the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission.
I know for your enthusiasm, you're trying to get me to still reconsider the zip lining.
Yes, I was trying to.
It's not.
But I think I can get you to do the virtual reality.
I might do that.
I think I can get you to do the virtual reality.
Definitely not, though. I'll zip line if Crane goes.
That's right. Brian Crane zip lines.
We only do that together.
That's right. It's just like Michael Estime and Lindsey Buckingham did it together. If Brian Crane zip lines, Bud will zip line with you.
I want somebody else to drown out my crying.
So as we kind of start to put a cap on our broadcast here, Bud, you know, as Curtis mentioned, you know, a Progressive Field, 5 o'clock, you've got celebrity softball, and that leads into Futures game. And now it really starts to pick up and take another notch.
I mean, just hearing Curtis talk about the coaching staffs with Charlie Manuel being a coach on Jim Thome's staff, and I think that brings back a lot of good vibes and memories for people here.
Absolutely. And then tomorrow, of course, will be the Home Run Derby. And look, Carlos Santana, I think he was seeded 7th because they have seeds now in this thing. But he's going to have that crowd on his side. And, you know, I'm really hoping he's able to, you know, the key with the Home Run Derby, you can hit 28 home runs in the first round. You got to conserve. You have to conserve for 3 rounds. I'd love to see him be a factor in this thing.
Yeah. I had a guy, we talked yesterday about this, a guy I know who was offered a ticket to either the Home Run Derby or the game.
Picked Home Run Derby, didn't he?
Home Run Derby, yeah.
I understand
and he didn't even question it. He was saying, hey, I get to sit out in left field and watch those guys.
And I get that. I mean, for some people, you know, it's just it's the watching the balls get launched because people love the long ball, and you know, that's exciting. But I think on Tuesday there's something about you know, seeing all the players introduced, standing along the baselines, and the pageantry of the All-Star Game, and you know, Major League Baseball always does a great job with, you know, the pregame show and everything.
Well,
there's an event.
You just go back and look at the rosters from the '97 All-Star Game this year.
Yes.
And you'll see what caliber of player is going to be here on Tuesday night. And 20 years from now, we'll be looking back and saying, Hall of Famer, Hall of Famer, Hall of Famer, Hall of Famer, just as we did with the '97 now.
You know what I still remember about, as much as I remember Sandy Alomar, obviously, in the home run, I remember the reception that Curt Schilling got in the pregame introductions, because the Indians were so trying to get a starting pitcher. You know, they were trying to retool for the trade deadline. And, I mean, Curt Schilling, next to the members of the Indians that were on the All-Star team, I think Schilling got the biggest around because the Indians were just hoping, you know, there were always rumors the Phillies were going to trade him. They didn't, but I always got a kick out of that.
They saved all their booing for Albert Bell, as I remember.
Yes, there were a lot of those too. My friend, it's always a pleasure.
Enjoy it, Dino. Take
All
care.
right, again, we've got more coverage at WKYC.com, the sights and sounds of Play Ball Park. We will have the sights and sounds later on of the celebrity softball game as well, and that will kind of all lead into the next couple of days of All-Star coverage. But get down here to Play Ball Park at the Huntington Convention Center. It's a great time for you. It's a great time for the whole family. All right, that'll do it for us. For Denise Polverine and Brian Crane, keeping us on the air and taking care of us. And for Bud Shaw, I'm Dave DeNatale. Thanks for watching our coverage from Play Ball Park right here on WKYC.com, Facebook Live, and YouTube. So long, everyone.